Connor McGovern had some interesting things to say about his return to Buffalo, and we're going to break it down for you right now on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, host of Locked On Bills. That's Jerry Ostroski, 102-game starter for the Buffalo Bills. And we'd like to welcome you in and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Locked On Bills. Locked On Bills is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Well, folks, welcome in. Connor McGovern had a press conference on Tuesday afternoon as the Bills, of course, made official his 4-year contract extension. And I listened to this press conference and I immediately texted Jerry Ostroski and I said, you got to listen to this thing and we got to get together and talk about it. So that's what we are doing right now. Jerry, good to chat with you. Welcome in.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it, man. Let's just start with this. The Buffalo Bills are a better football team because Connor McGovern is going to re-sign and be their starting center. So that's what we need to talk about right off the jump. That's the most important thing. We're a better team because Connor McGovern's still a part of it.
I know you're excited. Like, this was a big thing for you. We've been talking about receivers and edge rushers, and, well, I guess fittingly, you continue to ground us and say, they better take this offensive line seriously. This is no small thing to say goodbye to Connor McGovern and David Edwards. And we agreed that McGovern was the one to keep. That's what they did. And here we are. Connor McGovern stays with the Buffalo Bills. I know you're happy about it.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, you got two of the premier free agents in football that are going into free agency, and you keep one of two. That's a win. That is a win. And, props to Connor McGovern. It's a win not only because Brandon Beane went ahead and offered the contract. It's also a win because Connor McGovern understands things and actually took a little bit less to stay in Buffalo. Let's not lose that. Let's not lose sight of that whole thing. This thing really went down in the way it did because of Connor McGovern. And if you didn't see that press conference today, you need to go watch it because that press conference in general is just the epitome and describes just why you would expect, you see this guy take less money to stay in Buffalo. It was outstanding. And I mean, what a tremendous leader to have up front for us as a center.
The vibes were good, Jerry, I'd say. You set the scene. What did we see? Very interesting, right?
Well, first of all, if there's anything more Buffalo than a dude rolling in a muscle shirt and sweatpants carrying pizzas, I mean, come on, man. Come on. I mean, that's about as Buffalo as it gets. We love our comfort in Buffalo. We love our food, right? And this guy rolls in, muscle shirt, handing out pizzas that he made. Just a really good gesture by him and his family. And then he went right to it. I mean, he got right into things and talked about the contract, talked about how it all went down, and just a really honest, awesome press conference. And a guy that just a lot of leadership was shown today in that press conference, I felt, as far as a player on this team.
Let's get into some of the specifics of what he said. And there was a lot of conversation about, well, David Edwards leaving, and now there's a transition at left guard. But he was obviously very excited to keep 4 of the 5 starters from last year. Let me give you some quotes here about this left guard transition. He said it's going to be a big role because David Edwards was a big pillar for everyone out there, someone we can lean on when times got hard. So they have big shoes to fill. And whoever fills it, I think he's going to have to do a great job. Luckily, whoever comes in and plays left guard, we all have relationships with each other now. It's just going to be a new chemistry, establishing the front because they got to get used to playing next to me and Dion. And luckily, we've been healthy the past few years, so we really haven't had to have many guys step up. So that's one thing we just have to get used to playing with each other. And that's a great thing for starting 2 weeks early because the Bills have a new head coach. They can start a few weeks earlier than other teams. And he said, we get to start that process earlier and just get comfortable because Dion likes to take crazy splits. I like the guy a little bit tight just to communicate, and Dave did a great job with the whole communication piece last year, whether it's home or on the road. And so they've got to step up, not do as much as Dave, but be comfortable in being able to help out. If Dion needs to hear something or he's not sure what's going on, be able to communicate with him then while I'm working with the right side or vice versa. So they have some big shoes to fill, but I'm excited to see who does it. There's a lot there, Jerry. What
Right.
stands out to you?
I think the biggest thing is, and I kind of picked up on it partway through the season this year, is that usually your calls are made from your center. That's the guy who handles communication. But then you started seeing, especially on third downs, David Edwards really pointing out a lot of stuff and directing protections and everything. And it was kind of odd, but now it all kind of ties into play and it makes sense. You know, Deion's out there in his own world sometimes. He does get way out there in the splits. I mean, he's a vertical set guy. And one of the things that makes it so hard to play against him and pass rush against him is because the way he jacks with his width and all of that. But that also can lead to some communication issues, especially in loud stadiums when a guy's, an extra, in Deion's case, sometimes 4 to 5 yards further than maybe a normal tackle. So that's one thing. And then sometimes you get players, and I can see Deion being one of these types of guys, and I've played with guys like this. They are exceptional. They are Pro Bowlers. They are the best of the best. And they come in and they kind of have the mindset of, look, man, just tell me where I need to be, and I'm going to do it at a level that nobody else in the league can do it. And I can see Deion doing a little bit of that, okay? And I'll be honest with you. I'll sign up. If they need somebody to play left guard and tell Deion what's going on, hire me, man. I'll do it. I mean, I'm fine with that. It's just it comes with the territory. It's what makes offensive line play so beautiful, that you got 5 different guys from all different backgrounds and walks of life, and they come together and they form this team within a team, right? And that's what makes O-line play so beautiful. And probably 10, 15 years from now, when these guys are all sitting around, having a brew and kicking back, they'll probably make jokes about, you remember that time, David, we were trying to pay, and it's all part of it. And, it goes with it. And I thought it was interesting, though, Joe, talking about this left guard spot, there were no names said. I mean, this is an open competition. I truly believe. I mean, if anybody was honest today, it was Connor McGovern, and I took his answers as honest answers, and that's an open position. Then we'll see what happens there.
Deion Dawkins has said openly before that there's not been consistency next to him at left guard. Of course, he had David Edwards for 2 years, and I'm sure he very much enjoyed David Edwards, who, as a guy who played quarterback in his past, that he knows what everybody's doing. He is dialed in on what everybody's supposed to be doing. And I'm sure that was a major asset to Deion Dawkins. Well, it's not going to be David Edwards. With this in mind, and some of the things that we are considering and things you just said, how do you get this right? Because, Alec Anderson's been around, but is that the player you want between McGovern and Dawkins? It certainly doesn't feel like a rookie's the best idea. Feels like they got to find a savvy veteran to put in that spot.
Right. I think you go out and, as this free agency is kind of, becoming clear, and the fog is kind of lifting, and you're seeing who's available and who's not, find a guy that can fit within your payroll and come in and provide some competition for, Alec Anderson. I'm not saying Alec Anderson can't do it. I mean, he's been around. He knows Deion. I'm sure these guys are friends, and they've known each other for, a couple, 3 years. So it's not like he can't do it, but you need to have options. You can't roll into just saying, okay, this is going to be it, and you have one option. Then all of a sudden you're like, hey, this isn't working, and what are we going to do? So you got to bring another vet in that provides depth, that provides, even more leadership and things like that. But isn't it awesome, Joe, that we're sitting here talking about left guard and not center and left guard? Because think about this, just how tough it's going to be to find a David Edwards type player. And now, just think how hard it would have been if you got to find 2 of them.
Right.
Much more difficult. So, I think we can get by with trying to find the best option at left guard.
Is the challenge there going to be acquiring the players? Then you want to have a competition, probably. But then you also have this chemistry piece where adjusting to playing next to Deion is notable. Right. Whether that is a communication piece, but also because of the way that Deion plays, where he sets, right, where he aligns. When you're talking about handling stunts from the defensive line, like that chemistry is going to be really important, and maybe that feel is different, right, with a tackle like Deion next to you than maybe where other guys would line up. How do you let the competition play out, but also give yourself or maximize that runway to get prepared for a season with these guys, gaining reps with each other so they can hit the ground running?
Well, the only way to do it, especially with limited games now in the preseason, is when Dion and Connor McGovern and Spencer Brown and Osiris Torrance are over there and they've got a towel over their mouth and they're cuffing a hot dog because they played a series and they're out already. Whoever's the left guard in that competition will be there from the first quarter to the fourth quarter until that thing becomes a little bit more clear. You got to put them in, it's a lot of practice time. It's a lot of game time and those types of things. And you can work communication without having a ton of, not being, super physical and having to be in the middle of this, scrimmage type situation. But still, those guys need to work some things out in game-like situations. But, yeah, it'll be difficult. I mean, you guys got to understand, David Edwards is there 3 years.
Yeah.
Started out as the extra offensive lineman, then had 2 more years. And you laid it out so well today or the other day when you're talking about David Edwards. Other than the concussion deal, this was no slouch. I mean, this is a guy that started 3 years in L.A. too, so lots and lots of snaps under his belt. And, it's going to be an interesting shoes to fill for sure.
Am I reaching, or is there an argument to be made that having Pat Meyer stepping in as the offensive line coach while you're having this transition at left guard, that maybe that's helpful? Of course you'd want Cromer. Like, I am not saying anything derogatory towards Cromer, but does having the new offensive line coach where there's a level of new to, everything, right? Does that help with that transition at left guard?
For sure. I mean, you heard Connor McGovern say it today in the press conference. Pat Meyer worked under Aaron Cromer. While we love Aaron Cromer, this is a guy, and then you're also bringing Grubb back as well, right? So there's guys that we know and guys that have been in the Cromer system coming in. Brady staying there, everything's going to be the same with terminology. You're not going to have to worry about new terminology. And that's a big part of the offseason as well. When you have big changes, you've got to completely learn a new dictionary, right? A new set of terminology to go with these blocks. That's going to stay the same. The biggest thing is going to be, how does the communication go from Connor McGovern to Dion? And even if you say, okay, let's add Kincaid or Dawson Knox next to Dion, one more spot, how do you get the communication to them? And then the players working out through reps, through practice, through preseason, how the spacing works, getting the feel for how a guy sets, how a guy moves. Because, other than some of the blocking stuff on the backside and maybe changing off some games in the past game, most of what the Bills did up front was a lot of 5-on-5, right? So it was a lot of man-to-man. There wasn't a ton of, those types of things. So they'll be able to get it done. But I do think it's really, really important that another player is brought in to add to the mix of what they have available to see who fits the best next to Dion.
Man, I can't believe I get to talk to you about this stuff. This is cool, man. Like, the insight that you're sharing on this is just incredible, and it's a real treat to Bills Mafia to have you and what you brought to this channel and what you bring to this space, man. I really love it. One thing that Connor McGovern did say, and kind of going way back to your comments about the leadership component of Connor McGovern, he said, everything starts with me. So it's easier to be the pillar and glue for everyone else to kind of rally behind. I'll let Dion do all the energy and get everyone hyped up and going, and I'll gladly work behind the scenes and make sure everyone's working well together. These centers got a different kind of job.
Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, and especially nowadays. When I played, the coaches really controlled the protection. There wasn't a bunch of flipping protections in the middle of plays like there is now. Now they'll flip protections on their own. A center flips it. Now the center, he might have called something. Josh flips it, and now McGovern has to look up and go immediately to a whole new, different, section of calls to get to where that protection that Josh went to is. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I thought, it's kind of like I've been talking about when everybody's like, well, just Alec Anderson will step in as a center. It's not that easy. You got to have a certain temperament. And I appreciate Connor saying that. He wasn't bragging or anything. He was being honest. It just takes
the job, right?
Yeah, it's the job. It just takes a different, you could be in meetings, all right, offensive line meetings. You'd be back there doing a crossword puzzle. Well, if Connor's doing a crossword puzzle, they're hosed because nobody's going to know what to do. So he's got to be on point at all times. And, there's meetings with I'm sure he meets with the O-line coach on his own. I'm sure he meets with Josh on his own. So there's just much more responsibility when it comes to snapping the ball than just playing guard or tackle or something like that.
John Fina doing crossword puzzles during team meetings back in
No
the
comment. No comment.
All right, we got a whole lot more to do. Some fascinating comments from Connor McGovern about Josh Allen's involvement in this extension. So we'll get to that, and a really, really interesting quote about how he took less to stay in Buffalo, and something that I think fans will be very interested to hear Jerry's thoughts on. We'll do it all here next, folks. Be sure to stick with us. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. And I've got my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. And my favorite flavor is berry. You get the big, bold berry flavor. It's slightly sweet and very fruity. It's a classic mixed berry flavor with notes of raspberry and blackberry. It's smooth, it's sweet, but not overly sugary. And it's my favorite. But if you're looking for a sleeper, don't sleep on the strawberry banana. It's that classic combination that consistently delights. So check it out. 5-hour energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. College basketball is nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay that you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read, and you can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out, and then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Joe Marino and Jerry Ostroski here reacting to Connor McGovern's comments, and you can tell we got a lot to say about it. It's been an awesome conversation. We got more that we want to cover. Let's get into Josh Allen's involvement here, Jerry. Sounded like he had a big role, not only representing Connor McGovern's interests, representing the Bills' interests. I mean, he was kind of the general manager, it sounded like, on this deal, and I think we have Josh to thank because obviously this crossed the finish line. And Connor McGovern said, look, at the exit meeting, they told me they were going to let me get to free agency, and I've earned the right to kind of see what my market is. And then a few days before we get there, everything starts to change, and Josh Allen has a big role in that.
Starting quarterback in the NFL, farmer, dad, agent to the stars. I mean, this is the new most interesting man in the world, right? If he ever does an ad campaign, he should do it with Dos Equis because he seems to do everything. And obviously Josh did have a big part of this, and Connor just basically said it. He goes, I talked to Josh, and Tosh talked to both sides.
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase this. It's almost like it's almost like a weird thing where everybody's afraid to say Josh Allen. Nobody says his name. I don't know if it's like Kaiser Sose. You never said Kaiser Sose's name. So everybody can, he's referred to as 17. So if you're in the press conference, Connor McGovern referred to him as 17 multiple times, never used the name Josh once. So, 17 obviously did a lot of behind-the-scenes work, and thank goodness because it's awesome that he's still here. But, yeah, Josh was a big part of this, and he's had a busy offseason, believe me, picking coaches, helping negotiate deals.
Getting surgery.
Rehabbing, Probably doing the nursery, whatever. Yeah. I mean, a lot going on for Josh Allen.
Josh Allen picking colors and curtains, I'm sure, making sure he's got the right rug in the middle of that thing. I'm sure he's heavily involved. So Josh, he's been doing this. Like, there's been players the Bills have signed that they say, yeah, I got a call from Josh, and that probably carries a lot of weight. Talking about a league MVP, future Hall of Fame type quarterback here in Josh Allen. He gives you a call. That's got to mean something.
But here's why it works. Because he does it himself. Okay, when he calls Connor McGovern and asks Connor McGovern, can we get this worked out to where I know you could probably go in the open market and maybe make 15 or 16. And I don't know if he got into specific numbers, but still, he can do this because he does it himself. He took less money to come back to Buffalo.
Yeah.
He does these things, the way he acts with his teammates, how he is on the sidelines, the way he talks in press conferences, all that stuff you see. Just imagine this. You see that in public. Just think what he is like behind the scenes. So when a guy like him, your guy, that is your leader, the man, okay, the most visible, probably famous face in the city of Buffalo right now, right?
No question.
No question. He does those things, and then he talks to you and maybe asks you about the possibility of you doing it. How can you say no? I mean, that just goes back to leadership, and most of the leadership is leading by example. It's not running your mouth in these things. It's how you handle your business. And Josh Allen handles his business that way, and others want to do the same thing.
Contrast that to the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson's been difficult, right? For contract extensions, they're up against it right now. It's been challenging. What did his center just go do, Jerry?
Yeah.
Got $27 million a year from the Raiders.
Yeah.
He reset the market by, I mean, it was Creed Humphrey was the APY king at center at 18. He got 27.
Yeah.
And guess what? Lamar Jackson needs a center now.
Yeah, he needs a center. And guess what the franchise did? They went and traded 2 first-round picks away to get Max Crosby because they know we're going to have to win with defense as opposed to letting Lamar Jackson win the whole thing for us.
Ooh.
Maybe that's a whole nother episode, but I said it and I stand behind it.
Summer's going to be fun getting ready for this season. All right, so here's the quote. Here's the quote from Connor McGovern. $13 million a year is a whole hell of a lot of money. If me and my family can't live off that, shame on us. Is a couple $1 million worth our happiness here? Is that going to change our lives? We decided no, and we thought the best fit would be here in Buffalo. Look, everybody has their own priorities, right? And I am not going to sit here and say that $2 million a year more somewhere else isn't meaningful, because at the end of the day, it's still $2 million. $2 million is a lot of money. But I think this is the type of quote that fans really appreciate, and I think a lot of fans think like this. You know, and again, we're not in these shoes. We've never been in these shoes. We don't know what it's like. But this type of quote, I think, really lands with a lot of people. And I'm not going to be critical of guys for not thinking like this, but there's definitely a feel-good element to Connor McGovern saying this out loud.
I'll never question somebody's decisions on what they decide to do as far as whether they stay or go.
Right.
But I will say this: I've been in this situation. I had the opportunity to leave Buffalo in free agency and go home, go to Philly, and I chose to come back to Buffalo because I loved it in Western New York that much. And obviously, Connor McGovern loves Western New York that much as well. I mean, it's a Penn Stater, man. He's a PA guy. This is his deal. This is how he is. He's already got it set up. I mean, he's already doing the Northeast thing, right? What everybody wants to do. He's living the Northeast dream. He hauls tail to Florida in the offseason. Yeah. He comes back, back up to Buffalo when it's football season. I mean, and it's what it's all about. And again, I talked about this. This guy, he wasn't born in Western New York. He didn't grow up in Western New York, but he's Buffalo. I mean, he is. That's what he does, man. He's Buffalo. I mean, look at guys throughout our history. Jim Kelly still lives in Buffalo. Thurman still lives in Buffalo. I mean, there's guys like that. Connor McGovern's Buffalo, man. That's what he's about.
You mentioned the Pennsylvania State part of this, right? And one thing that I guess Connor McGovern put out there that I never considered is that Joe Brady and he were together at Penn State when Joe Brady was a grad assistant. And Connor McGovern shared in the press conference that, he was a freshman. So they were low man on the totem pole. And they've kind of obviously been very interested in each other's careers. And here they are. Could you imagine, like, if I would have told you some GA that was at Tulsa while you were a freshman there was going to be your NFL head coach in 10 years, like, you'd be like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
That really happened. That really happened, which I found it to be interesting when he was asked about, just kind of the whirlwind that's been Buffalo, right? Moving on from Sean McDermott. There's been a lot here, a lot of transition here over the last several weeks. And Connor's answer to that was, I think we're in a better overall spot. He said, Joe Brady is a breath of fresh air. He brings energy, which energy is the word we've heard from everybody about Joe Brady. But do you think that these comments are more rooted in their relationship, kind of going back to Penn State, him being an offensive player? I think these offensive linemen have a lot of pride in James Cook being the rushing king, and then Josh Allen being an MVP the last 2 years. Like, there's something there. You could feel it. Maybe everybody wouldn't have the same answer, But I found it interesting that Connor came out and said, I think we're in a better overall spot. Joe Brady is a breath of fresh air.
I think I look at a couple ways, and just real quick to go back to the Brady thing is Brady was an offensive GA at Penn State, and Connor McGovern was a freshman. You have to figure they probably worked together on scout team. Probably Connor was running scouts, and I'm sure Joe Brady was helping run the scout team, so had that relationship for a long time. But when you look at this thing, and Joe, you talked about it not too long ago. I think a couple of squad shows ago, where the pressure of the Bills being in a Super Bowl and just kind of morphing it into just the public sentiment and how the city swings with every decision made from Brandon Beane and these different things, and it ties to just the pressure of getting to that game, right? If you think about this, if outside of that building, if outside of One Bills Drive is that kind of pressure situation where everybody feels it, and I feel it. I mean, we all do, right?
Yeah.
We feel it all the time. Think what it is like in that building, especially if you're the head coach and you've got 9 cracks at it with one of the best players to ever play in the NFL, and you've had 9 cracks at it and you haven't gotten broken through yet. The amount of pressure that he had, and to think you could do all these different things to try to mask that, what you're feeling as a head coach over that amount of time is going to eventually ooze out of you into your team, and they're going to feel that as well. And I'm sure, like we've talked about, and Terry Bagula made reference to, when I walked in that locker room and I saw my quarterback crying. I think that was pressure. That was a pressure release. That was like having a pressure cooker and you pop that valve and that steam comes out. That was a pressure release. And I think that's kind of when we talk about Connor McGovern and what he said today about a breath of fresh air and the energy. That's what it is. You got to figure this cloud has been lifted off of that place, and it's just different. And it's a new beginning. It's starting over. And even though the face is the same and a lot of the names are the same, there's a lot different. And it is different. And I'm sure that with player wise, I'm sure that's palpable, man. I'm sure that release of pressure is palpable.
Moving on was risky, but staying the course was risky.
Yes.
You give another shot. You had 8 chances to go on a playoff run with Josh Allen. You never got in the Super Bowl. You want to do it again?
Right.
It's tough.
And it's not a indictment on anybody. It's just it was the situation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that was circumstantial. There was a few times it was definitely Sean's fault, but ultimately didn't happen.
Right.
I want to close with this. Of course, exit interviews are very commonly referred to. We know they happen. Connor said that they had their exit interview, they were on the same page, blah blah blah. I guess what I'm interested in here is like what happens in an NFL exit interview, like every year. What is that like? What do you get done in that? Take us behind the scenes.
I think a lot of it is you just check in. You got to go through all the different things. You got to meet with the training room staff. You got to meet with the equipment staff. You got to meet with the strength staff. You got to do all these things. You got they literally give you a checklist to go through, and then you have your final. You got your position meeting. You got your head coach meeting, and we never met with general manager. I don't know if they meet with general manager or not. I don't know how they do it now with Brandon Beane, but we never met with the general manager. We always met with the head coach and our position coach. And, there's just a lot of honesty. I mean, you go through things, and there's guys, if you have your contract worked out, you're coming back and those things will take place. I mean, you don't have to have an exit interview to understand the situation you're in going into the offseason. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, just like Dawson Knox, he didn't need an exit interview to understand that he was probably going to have to redo his contract or he wasn't coming back. I mean, guys are very smart and very, very astute with that stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of honesty. I mean, you played good. You didn't play good. We appreciate what you did. Thanks for playing, your third position in 2 years for us this year. Things like that. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, you get your schedule when they expect you to be back and all those things. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just depends on the situation. And, Connor McGovern's was a lot different. I'm sure he did meet with Brady before he left. So, it's always different for the individual player.
Well, Jerry, this is one of my favorite conversations I've ever had with you. I'm glad that it was recorded and that people get to enjoy it because you have such unique insight that you can offer on this stuff, and it's extremely valuable. And so I really appreciate it, dude.
Well, not a problem. I enjoy doing it, and I'm just glad we're able to record this episode and talk about Connor McGovern continuing to be the starting center for the Buffalo Bills.
Instead of freaking out about what the heck they're going to do.
Right.
Connor McGovern is back.
Yes.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you'll take a moment to subscribe, rate, review the podcast. Have a great rest of your day, and go Bills.
Much love, folks. Go Bills.